All right guys, so we have got a major storm front rolling through North Idaho, just getting ready to sweep across the rest of the country. So on today's Field Tips, we're going to talk about weather, whitetails, and how to pick the best day to be in the woods. When it comes to whitetail movement, the weather has a tremendous impact, and although we can't control the weather, we can control how we respond to it and use it to our advantage as hunters to pick the absolute best time to be in the woods, and here's how. So whitetails tend to be cyclic feeders. They're ruminates, meaning that their digestive system is broken into multiple parts or multiple phases. I'm sure you've heard about the four-chambered stomach, and that's not really accurate. It's actually 4 different organs that all perform different functions. And if you've ever opened up a whitetail or any kind of ruminant and saw the big balloon-like thing that you really don't want to puncture, that's the rumen. And so when a whitetail is out feeding, that's kind of like their shopping cart, their grocery basket. So when they're out feeding, they are mowing down groceries as quickly as they can, doing minimal chewing, swallowing that stuff, and collecting as much as they can so that they can go back to their bed and process that later. And so if you're a prey animal like a whitetail deer, this makes perfect sense because it reduces the amount of time that you're exposed to predation, including hunters. You can go out, you can forage, and then you can go back to a secluded spot to process all of that stuff that you collected, which is also known as rumination. This is when deer regurgitate their food, chew it up, swallow it again, and goes through the rest of their digestive system. So this is all good information and interesting, but how do we use this information as hunters, and how does it relate to the weather? In my experience, whitetails tend to feed on about a 5-hour rotation. And so they'll get up, they'll go out for a feeding bout, they'll collect all those groceries, they'll come back into their bedding area, or maybe if it's at night, they just plop down in the field wherever they're at, and they're gonna start that rumination process. Processing all of the groceries that the deer collected during a feeding bout takes time, and this is where that cyclic nature of a whitetail's feeding behavior comes into play. So although whitetails tend to feed on about a 5-hour cycle, it's not really like clockwork because there's a lot of things that can postpone or shift these feeding cycles. Things like moon phase, hunting pressure, things like that. Those can alter these feeding cycles and delay them. When it comes to hunting pressure, this isn't really something that we can predict, but what we can predict, relatively certainly, is the weather, because we can look at these forecasts and pick out the exact day that we want to go out, and even really down to the exact hour that we need to be out there on a lot of occasions. Picking out the best day to be in the woods as it relates to weather is really not rocket science. All you've got to do is open up the Weather Channel or Weather Underground or something like that, open up the 10-day forecast, and you're looking for major changes in the weather. And that could be a major drop in the wind speed, going from heavy rain to light or no rain, big drops in the temperature. So take this forecast right here, for example. We've got major drop in the temperature, we've got big drops in the wind speed, the rain is stopping, the barometric pressure is rising, and look at this, it all lines up right around daybreak. This right here is an absolutely perfect storm. The reason I like to focus on these types of weather systems is because extreme weather can keep whitetails hunkered down in those thick bedding areas, and it can make them miss or delay some of these feeding bouts. And so when the weather finally does break, they're hungry and they're anxious to get out feeding, and this is a great time to be waiting at one of those isolated food sources close by to their bedding areas. So if you have a situation like the front that we just looked at, where it looks like there's going to be a definite edge to that storm or a definite break in the weather, the deer are going to be up and moving pretty quickly after that weather breaks. So ideally, you want to be sitting there when that happens, because if you are already there, you're going to be less likely to bump deer on your way into your stand, and you're going to be more likely to intercept those deer as they're moving from their bedding area to where the spots that they're going to feed. All right, folks, that's gonna do it for this week's field tip. If you like what you saw, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon so you don't miss out on the new videos when they come out. And you can also follow me on Instagram at Clay Hayes Hunter. So with that, there's a lot of hunting season left to go. Good luck to you guys. And if you do happen to put something on the ground, go ahead and tag me at Clay Hayes Hunter. I'd love to take a look. We'll see you next time.